My name is Simon Rourke, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect suburban life. 20 years as a cop, then 10 more running my own security consulting business. A beautiful wife, Rachel, who managed the most popular gym in town. An 18-year-old daughter, Ivy, heading to college in the fall. A 4-bedroom house in Maple Heights with a 3-car garage and a mortgage that was almost paid off. Perfect, right? That's what I kept telling myself every morning when I looked in the bathroom mirror and saw a 42-year-old man who'd let himself get soft around the middle while his 39-year-old wife had turned herself into a fitness influencer with abs that could cut glass. "Morning, honey," Rachel would say, not looking up from her phone as she posted her daily workout selfie. Always the same pose. Sports bra, yoga pants, that practice smile that said, "I'm approachable but also better than you." The comments would pour in within minutes. Heart-eye emojis from desperate middle-aged men, flame emojis from her gym clients, and always, comments from Luke Voss. Luke Pretty Boy Voss owned CrossFit Revolution across town. 32 years old, 6-pack abs, perfectly styled hair, and the kind of cocky grin that made me want to arrest him for something. Anything. "Great form as always, Rachel. Can't wait for our business meeting tonight," he'd comment, followed by a winking emoji. "Business meeting? Right. Dad, you're staring at Mom's phone again," Ivy would say, rolling her eyes as she grabbed her protein smoothie. It's creepy. When did my own daughter start looking at me like I was some pathetic loser? Probably around the same time she started spending every weekend at her mom's gym, posting her own fitness content, talking about toxic masculinity and outdated gender roles. "I'm not staring," I'd say, "just checking the weather." "The weather app is the little cloud icon, Dad. Mom's Instagram is the camera one. Try to keep up." Rachel would laugh, that tinkling sound she'd perfected for her workout videos. "Simon, you know technology isn't your strong suit. Why don't you stick to your security cameras and leave social media to us?" US. When had it become us versus me in my own house? The morning everything changed started like any other. Rachel was in the kitchen, phone propped against her protein powder collection, filming her morning routine. Ivy sat at the counter, occasionally jumping into frame to show off her own fitness journey. "Good morning, Revolution family," Rachel chirped at the camera. "Today's going to be an amazing day. I can feel it. Luke and I have some exciting announcements coming up about the gym partnership, and Ivy just got accepted to state with a partial athletic scholarship." I paused in the doorway. "Ivy got a scholarship? Since when?" "Since last week," Ivy said without looking at me. "Mom helped me with the application. She knows people in the athletic department. I would have liked to know about this." Rachel stopped recording. "Simon, we talked about this. You were busy with your little security jobs, and Ivy needed someone who understood the fitness world to help her. Luke actually wrote one of her recommendation letters." "Luke? Of course. He's not even a coach at her school." "He's a successful businessman with connections," Rachel said, that edge creeping into her voice that meant I was about to be lectured. "Unlike some people, he's building something, growing, evolving." "What's that supposed to mean?" Ivy sighed dramatically. "Dad, you've been doing the same boring security stuff for 10 years. Mom and Luke are building an empire. They're going to have gyms all over the state." "Since when do you know so much about Luke's business plans?" "Since I started working at his gym," Ivy said. "Mom got me a job there. I'm going to be their social media manager when I graduate." The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the kitchen tile. Both women looked at me like I just had a breakdown. "When did all this happen?" I asked. "While you were busy playing rent-a-cop," Rachel said. "Some of us don't have the luxury of coasting through life." That night, I did something I'd never done before. I followed my wife. Rachel left the house at 7, claiming she had a client consultation that would run late. I waited 10 minutes, then took my old pickup truck and tailed her across town. She didn't go to her gym. She went to Luke's. I parked across the street and watched through the floor-to-ceiling windows as my wife and Luke Voss worked out together. Except they weren't really working out. They were touching, laughing, and when Luke pressed Rachel against the squat rack and kissed her, I felt something die inside my chest. I sat there for 2 hours, watching my marriage crumble in high definition through a gym window. They moved from the main floor to Luke's office upstairs. The blinds were closed, but I didn't need to see what happened next. When I got home, Rachel was already there, showered and in her pajamas, scrolling through her phone on the couch. "How was your client consultation?" I asked. "Great," she said without looking up. "Really productive. We're going to do amazing things together." "I bet you are." She finally looked at me. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. Just, it's late for a business meeting." "Simon, are you seriously going to start with the jealous husband routine? Because that's not attractive on anyone, especially not someone your age." "Someone my age. Like 42 was ancient." "I'm not jealous. I'm concerned about my wife spending so much time with another man." Ivy appeared in the doorway, drawn by the tension in our voices. "Dad, are you seriously going to be one of those controlling husbands?" "Mom is building her career. She deserves support, not suspicion." "I've supported your mother for 20 years. By doing what?" Rachel stood up, her phone clutched in her hand like a weapon. "By bringing home the same boring paycheck every month? By refusing to take risks or grow or change? By being exactly the same man I married 20 years ago?" "I thought that was a good thing." "Well, you thought wrong." She headed toward the stairs, then stopped. "Some women want partners who challenge them, who inspire them to be better, who have ambition." "Partners like Luke?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Rachel's face went pale, then flushed red. "Luke is a friend and business partner. If you can't handle that, maybe the problem isn't with me." She stormed upstairs. Ivy stared at me with disappointment written all over her face. "Dad, you're embarrassing yourself. And us." Then she followed her mother upstairs, leaving me alone in the living room with the wreckage of my perfect family. That's when I started planning. The next morning, I did something else I'd never done before. I searched my wife's belongings. 20 years as a cop teaches you a few things about finding hidden secrets. People think they're clever, but they're not. They're predictable. The first place I looked was Rachel's gym bag. Nothing in the main compartment except the usual: protein bars, water bottle, change of clothes. But there was a small zippered pocket on the side that felt heavier than it should. Inside, wrapped in a sports sock, was a phone I'd never seen before. A burner phone. My hands shook as I powered it on. No lock screen. Rookie mistake. The text messages made my stomach turn. Luke. Can't stop thinking about last night. Rachel. Me either. Simon was asking questions when I got home. Luke. Maybe it's time to tell him. Rachel. Not yet. I need to make sure Ivy's college is secured first. And I want the house refinance to go through. Luke. How much longer do we have to sneak around? Rachel. Not much longer. Trust me, I scrolled through weeks of messages. Plans for their business partnership that had nothing to do with business. Photos I couldn't unsee. Details about their relationship that made 20 years of marriage feel like a lie. But the worst part wasn't the affair. It was the way they talked about me. Rachel. He's so clueless. Still thinks we're the happy family from his cop fantasies. Luke. Poor guy. Must suck being that boring. Rachel. He's not a bad person. Just limited. No vision. No passion. Luke. Unlike us. Rachel. Exactly. We're building something real, something exciting. I was still staring at the phone when Ivy walked into the kitchen. Dad? What are you doing? I looked up at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she started wearing makeup like her mother? When had she started looking at me like I was an inconvenience? Found your mom's backup phone, I said. Ivy glanced at the device in my hands. So? Everyone has 2 phones now. Mom uses that one for business stuff. Business stuff. Yeah, her partnership with Luke. Dad, you really need to get with the times. Mom's building something important, and you're acting like some paranoid detective. I held up the phone, showing her the text thread. This kind of business? Ivy barely glanced at the screen. Dad, I don't want to see Mom's private messages. That's gross. Ivy, your mother is having an affair. My daughter, my little girl who used to come to me when she had nightmares, looked me dead in the eye and shrugged. So, maybe she deserves to be happy for once. The words hit me like a physical blow. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe if you'd paid attention to what Mom needed instead of just assuming everything was fine, she wouldn't have to look elsewhere for support. Support? Ivy, she's cheating on me. On our family. She's living her life, Dad. Maybe you should try it sometime. Ivy grabbed a protein shake from the fridge and headed toward the door. And Dad? Going through Mom's stuff is really creepy. Like, restraining order creepy. She left me standing in the kitchen, holding evidence of my wife's betrayal, while my own daughter acted like I was the villain. That evening, Rachel came home late again. This time, she didn't bother with an excuse. We need to talk, I said. She was checking herself in the hallway mirror, fixing her hair. About what? I held up the burner phone. Rachel froze. For just a moment, I saw fear flash across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by anger. You went through my things. You're cheating on me. I'm living my life. She snatched the phone from my hands. Something you might want to try. Rachel, we've been married for 20 years. 20 years of what, Simon? 20 years of the same routine, same conversations, same boring, predictable life. She was warming up now, her voice getting stronger. Do you know what it's like being married to someone who never changes? Never grows? Never wants anything more than what he already has? I wanted you. I wanted our family. Well, maybe that's not enough anymore. Ivy appeared at the top of the stairs. What's going on? Your father is having a midlife crisis, Rachel said. He's decided that my business partnership with Luke is somehow inappropriate. Dad. Ivy came down the stairs and I could see she'd been crying. Mom told me about the scholarship, about college. Luke's been helping with everything while you've been absent. I haven't been absent. I've been working, supporting this family. You've been existing, Rachel said. There's a difference. Mom's right, Dad. You go to work, you come home, you watch TV, you go to bed. That's not living. That's just surviving. I looked at my wife and daughter, the two people I loved most in the world, and saw nothing but disappointment in their eyes. So what happens now? I asked. Rachel and Ivy exchanged a look. Some silent communication passed between them. Now you have a choice, Rachel said. You can accept that things are changing and try to be part of our lives, or you can keep fighting it and make things ugly for everyone. What kind of choice is that? The only one you're going to get? Ivy nodded. Dad, Mom, and Luke are going to be partners. In business and other things. You can either deal with it like an adult, or you can make this harder than it needs to be. I stared at them. You're both okay with this? We're okay with being happy, Rachel said. You should try it. That night, I lay in bed next to my wife, the woman who was planning to leave me for a younger man, and made my own plans. If Rachel wanted to play games, I'd show her how the game was really played. The next few weeks were the longest of my life. I had to pretend everything was normal while my wife flaunted her affair and my daughter treated me like an embarrassing relative they couldn't wait to get rid of. But I wasn't sitting idle. 20 years as a cop and 10 years in security consulting had taught me a few things about gathering evidence and preparing for the worst. First, I hired Tony Castellano, the best divorce attorney in the state and an old buddy from my police days. Tony took one look at the evidence I'd gathered and whistled low. Simon, this is bad, but it's also good if you know what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. The affair is one thing, but the financial stuff. Tony spread the documents across his desk. Your wife has been busy, very busy. While I'd been playing the oblivious husband, Rachel had been playing chess. She'd refinanced our house, putting it entirely in her name. She'd moved money from our joint accounts into private ones. She'd even taken out a business loan using our home as collateral. For her partnership with Luke? I asked. That's what the paperwork says. But look at this. Tony showed me a bank statement. The money from the loan didn't go to any business account. It went straight to a personal account shared by your wife and her boyfriend. They're stealing from me. They're preparing to leave you with nothing. The house, the savings, even your business accounts. She's been slowly moving everything into her name or joint accounts with Luke. I felt sick. How is that legal? It's not. But by the time you could fight it in court, they'd be long gone with your money. Tony leaned back in his chair. Unless we get creative. What do you mean? Tony smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I mean, we set a trap, a big one. Here's what we did. First, I started acting defeated. I stopped asking questions about Rachel's late nights. I stopped complaining about Luke. I even started being friendly to him when he came by the house, which he was doing more and more often. Hey, Luke, I'd say when he showed up for dinner. How's the gym business? Great, Simon. Really great. Rachel and I are going to do big things together. I'm sure you are. Rachel would watch these interactions with suspicion at first, then with relief. She thought I was finally accepting the situation. Second, I started documenting everything. Every lie, every secret meeting, every dollar that disappeared from our accounts. I installed hidden cameras in our house, perfectly legal since it was still my house, too. I recorded phone calls. I tracked spending. But the most important thing I did was set up what Tony called the honey trap. I created a fake business opportunity, a security contract with a major corporation that would require a significant upfront investment. Money I claimed I didn't have access to without Rachel's signature on a loan. It's $1 million contract, I told Rachel over dinner, but I need $50,000 upfront for equipment and personnel. The bank won't approve the loan without both our signatures. Rachel's eyes lit up. Not because she was excited for my success, but because she saw an opportunity. That's wonderful, honey, she said. Of course I'll sign. What Rachel didn't know was that the loan papers she signed weren't for my fake business contract. They were for a real estate investment trust that would lock up our remaining joint assets for 5 years, with me as the sole beneficiary if she tried to access the money through fraudulent means. The third part of the plan was the hardest. I had to let them think they were winning. Rachel started bringing Luke to family dinners. Ivy started calling him Uncle Luke. They'd sit around my kitchen table, planning their future together, while I smiled and nodded like the world's most pathetic cuckold. Simon, Luke said one night, cutting into the steak I'd grilled for him, I want you to know I respect what you and Rachel built together. I'm not trying to replace you. Of course not, I said. You're just trying to steal my wife and daughter. The table went silent. Rachel's face flushed red. Dad, Ivy said, that's not fair. Isn't it? I looked around the table. Luke's here more than I am. He's paying for Ivy's college. He's Rachel's business partner and apparently her everything else partner. What exactly is my role in this family anymore? Your role, Rachel said coldly, is whatever you make it. No one's forcing you to stay. Mom's right, Ivy said. If you can't handle the new dynamic, maybe you should find somewhere else to be. Luke reached across the table and put his hand on Rachel's. Simon, I know this is hard, but we're all adults here. We can make this work if everyone's mature about it. I stared at this 32-year-old pretty boy who was lecturing me about maturity while he screwed my wife in my house. You're right, I said. We're all adults, so let's be honest about what's happening here. I stood up and walked to the kitchen safe, a small fireproof box where we kept our important documents. I punched in the code and pulled out a manila envelope. What's that? Rachel asked. Insurance, I said. For all of us. I set the envelope on the table. This contains copies of every financial document related to our marriage. Bank statements, loan papers, property deeds, business contracts, everything. Luke frowned. Yet why are you showing us this? Because I want everyone to understand exactly what they're getting into. Rachel, you've been moving money around for months thinking I didn't notice. Luke, you've been planning to take over my life piece by piece. Ivy, you've been helping them do it. Dad, that's not... It's exactly what's been happening. I put the envelope back in the safe and reset the combination. But here's the thing. I'm not going to fight you anymore. You want me gone? Fine. I'll pack my bags and leave. Rachel looked suspicious. Just like that? Just like that. But I have one condition. You're not in a position to make conditions, Luke said. Actually, I am. I smiled at him, because that envelope contained something else. Something that could make life very complicated for both of you if it ended up in the wrong hands. Are you threatening us? Rachel asked. I'm protecting myself. And giving you what you want. I headed toward the stairs. I'll be gone by the weekend. The house is yours. The family is yours. Everything is yours. What about the safe? Ivy asked. I paused on the stairs. What about it? The combination. We'll need access to those documents. You'll figure it out, I said. You're all so smart, so mature. I'm sure it won't be a problem. That night, I heard Rachel and Luke talking in hushed voices downstairs. I heard Ivy crying in her room, and I smiled as I packed my bags, knowing that everything was going exactly according to plan. By Friday, I was gone. I took a suitcase of clothes, my pickup truck, and nothing else. I moved into a cheap motel across town and waited. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for them to spring it. 3 days after I moved out, Tony called with news. They tried to access the trust fund, he said. Rachel and Luke went to the bank together, claiming they needed the money for their business expansion. And the bank told them the money was locked up for 5 years, just like we planned. But here's the interesting part. They also tried to get information about your personal accounts. The ones I emptied last week? Those would be the ones. Apparently, Rachel thought you were bluffing about being broke. Tony chuckled. She's not laughing anymore. I'd moved every penny I could access into offshore accounts that Rachel couldn't touch. Not illegal, just careful. The house might be in her name now, but the mortgage payments were coming out of accounts she no longer had access to. How long before they figure out they're in trouble? Based on the payment schedule you showed me, about 2 weeks. Perfect. But I didn't have to wait 2 weeks. Rachel called me that same evening. Simon, we need to talk. About what? About the money. About the safe. About this ridiculous game you're playing. I'm not playing any games, Rachel. I'm giving you exactly what you wanted. I wanted a mature separation, not financial sabotage. Then you shouldn't have tried to steal from me for 6 months. There was a long pause. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Just like you don't know about the business loan you took out against our house, or the joint account you opened with Luke, or the $50,000 you've been funneling to him for his business expansion. Another pause. Longer this time. How do you know about that? I'm a security consultant, Rachel. I know how to find things. You've been spying on us. I've been protecting myself. There's a difference. Simon, this is crazy. We can work this out. We can all be adults about this. Like you were being an adult when you were planning to leave me broke and homeless? That's not... We weren't... You weren't what? Planning to take everything and disappear with your boyfriend? Because I have documentation that says otherwise. I heard her talking to someone in the background. Luke, probably. Simon, she said when she came back on the line, Luke and I want to meet with you. Tonight. We can figure this out. Figure what out? How to make this work for everyone. I almost laughed. There's nothing to figure out, Rachel. You made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. The consequences? Check your bank balance. Check the mortgage payment schedule. Check the business loan terms. I paused for effect. Then call me back when you're ready to have an honest conversation. I hung up and waited. It took 4 hours. When Rachel called back, she was crying. Simon, please. The mortgage payment bounced. The bank is asking questions about the business loan. Luke's investors are getting nervous. Sounds like a problem. It's our problem, our house, our family. No, Rachel. It's your problem, your house, your family. Remember? You made that very clear. I didn't mean we didn't want it to be like this. How did you want it to be? You wanted me to pay for your new life with Luke while pretending to be happy about it? We thought. You thought I was stupid. You thought I'd never figure it out. You thought you could have your affair and your financial security and your perfect little family all at the same time. Simon, please, we can fix this. There's nothing to fix. You broke it. You chose Luke. You chose to lie and steal and manipulate. Now you get to see how that works out for you. What about Ivy? What about her college? That stopped me. For just a moment, I felt a flicker of doubt. But then I remembered my daughter telling me that maybe Rachel deserved to be happy. I remembered her calling me creepy for discovering the affair. Ivy made her choice too, I said. She chose you and Luke. I hope that works out better for her than it's working out for you. You bastard, you can't do this to us. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just not saving you from the consequences of your own actions. I hung up again. The next morning, Tony called with more news. Your wife hired a lawyer. Patricia Hendricks. She's good, but she's not miracle worker. What's she telling them? That they're screwed. The money they took was from joint accounts, which makes it technically legal but morally questionable. The business loan they can't pay back is secured by property that's underwater thanks to the refinancing, and the trust fund you set up is ironclad. And Luke? Luke's in deeper trouble than your wife. Turns out he's been running his gym business on credit and promises. Without the money he was expecting from Rachel, he can't make payroll. His investors are pulling out. His investors? Rich housewives who thought they were funding the next big fitness empire. They're not happy about being lied to. I felt a warm glow of satisfaction. How not happy? Let's just say Luke's been getting some very angry phone calls. And his gym membership is way down since word got out about his creative financing. Word got out how? Anonymous tips to the local business journal, and maybe a few social media posts from concerned community members. I hadn't asked Tony to spread rumors about Luke's business practices, but I wasn't going to complain about it either. What's next? Next, your wife and her boyfriend get desperate. And desperate people make stupid mistakes. Tony was right. 2 days later, Ivy called me. Dad, you have to stop this. Stop what? Whatever you're doing to Mom and Luke. They're falling apart. I'm not doing anything to them, Ivy. I'm just not helping them anymore. Dad, Mom's been crying for 3 days. Luke's talking about leaving town. The house might get foreclosed on. Then maybe your mom should have thought about that before she decided to destroy our marriage. Dad, please. I know you're hurt, but this is crazy. You're hurting all of us. I'm hurting you? Ivy, you told me I should find somewhere else to be. You said your mom deserved to be happy with someone else. You chose their side. I didn't choose sides. I just wanted everyone to be happy. Well, now you know what happiness costs? Dad, I'm your daughter. Yes, you are. And I love you. But love doesn't mean I have to let you and your mother walk all over me. What do you want from us? I want honesty. I want respect. I want acknowledgement that what happened to me was wrong. Okay, fine, it was wrong. Mom was wrong. Luke was wrong. I was wrong. There. Are you happy now? Are you saying that because you mean it, or because you want me to fix your problems? There was a long pause. I don't know. At least that was honest. Ivy, I love you, but I'm not going to save you from the consequences of the choices you made. If you want a relationship with me, It has to be based on something real, not just desperation. Dad, I'm staying at the Sunset Motel on Route 9, room 23. If you want to talk, really talk, you know where to find me. I hung up and waited to see what would happen next. What happened next was the confrontation I'd been expecting. Rachel and Luke showed up at my motel room at 9 o'clock that night. I saw them coming through the window and opened the door before they could knock. "We need to talk," Rachel said. She looked terrible. Her perfect Instagram makeup was smudged, her hair was unwashed, and she was wearing sweatpants, something I hadn't seen her do in years. Luke looked worse. His usual cocky confidence was gone, replaced by the desperate look of a man watching his life collapse. "Come in," I said. They sat on the motel room's single chair in the edge of the bed. I leaned against the dresser and waited. "Simon," Rachel began, "this has gone far enough." "Has it? You've made your point. We hurt you, we were wrong, but destroying our lives isn't going to fix anything. I'm not destroying your lives. I'm just not subsidizing them anymore." Luke spoke up. "Look, Simon, I know you hate me, and maybe you have good reasons, but Rachel and Ivy don't deserve this." "Don't they?" "Ivy's just a kid. She doesn't understand what's happening. Ivy's 18 years old enough to vote, old enough to go to college, old enough to choose sides in her parents' marriage. She understood perfectly." "She was confused," Rachel said. "We all were. The situation was complicated. The situation was simple. You wanted to cheat on me and steal from me at the same time. The only complicated part was figuring out how to do it without consequences." "Okay," Luke said, standing up. "You want to be angry? Be angry. But don't take it out on them. Sit down, Luke." Something in my voice made him freeze. 20 years as a cop teaches you how to project authority when you need it. "Sit down," I repeated, "and let me explain something to you." Luke sat. "You came into my house. You seduced my wife. You manipulated my daughter. You stole my money. And now you want to lecture me about taking things out on innocent people? You never meant to get caught. There's a difference." I walked over to the room's small safe and punched in the combination. Inside was a thick folder full of documents. "This contains every piece of evidence I have about your affair, your financial crimes, and your business fraud. Bank records, photographs, recorded conversations, witness statements." Rachel went pale. "You recorded us?" "I recorded you in my house talking about stealing from me." "Perfectly legal." "What do you want?" Luke asked. "I want you to understand something. I'm not the pathetic, clueless husband you thought I was. I'm a trained investigator with 20 years of experience catching people who think they're smarter than they are." I pulled out a photograph and showed it to them. It was Luke and Rachel, kissing in his gym. "I have dozens of these, time-stamped, dated, documented." I pulled out a bank statement. "This shows the money you stole from our joint accounts to fund Luke's failing business." I pulled out a recording device. This contains Rachel's voice, talking about how clueless I am and how easy it would be to take everything. "Simon," Rachel whispered, "please." "Please what? Please pretend this never happened? Please let you destroy my life without consequences? Please pay for your new life with Luke while you laugh about how stupid I am? We never laughed about—" "You did. I have recordings." I put the documents back in the safe and closed it. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sell the house. You're going to pay back the business loan. You're going to return every penny you stole from our joint accounts. And then you're going to disappear from my life." "And if we don't?" Luke asked. "Then I release all of this to your investors, your clients, your families, and the local media. And then I sue you both for fraud, theft, and emotional distress." "You can't prove fraud," Luke said. "Can I?" I smiled at him. "Luke, you took money from investors under false pretenses. You used stolen funds to prop up your failing business. You lied to banks about your assets and income. That's not just fraud, that's federal fraud." Luke's face went white. As for you, Rachel, you forged my signature on loan documents, moved money from joint accounts without my knowledge, and conspired to defraud me of marital assets. That's theft, fraud, and conspiracy. We had joint accounts, Rachel said weakly. I had a right to that money. You had a right to half of it, not all of it, and you certainly didn't have a right to give it to your boyfriend. I walked to the door and opened it. You have 48 hours to come up with a plan to make this right. If I don't hear from you by Thursday night, I start making phone calls. They left without another word. I closed the door and sat on the bed, shaking. I'd just declared war on my own family, and I wasn't sure who was going to survive it. But I was sure of one thing. I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. Thursday night came and went without a word from Rachel or Luke. Friday morning, I started making phone calls. The first call went to the business journal that covered our area. I spoke to a reporter named Jennifer Walsh who specialized in financial crimes. I have a story for you about business fraud and investor manipulation, I told her. I'm listening. A local gym owner has been taking money from investors under false pretenses, using stolen funds to prop up his failing business, and lying to banks about his assets. Do you have documentation? I have everything. We met that afternoon at a coffee shop downtown. I showed Jennifer copies of Luke's financial records, investor agreements, and bank statements. Her eyes got wider as she flipped through the pages. This is extensive, she said. Luke Voss has been running a shell game for months. His investors think they're funding a fitness empire. In reality, they're paying for his lifestyle and his affair with a married woman. Can you prove the affair? I showed her the photographs and recordings. Jesus, she whispered. How did you get all this? The married woman is my wife. Was my wife. Jennifer looked up from the documents. This is personal. This is justice. Luke Voss is a fraud and a thief. His investors deserve to know what he's doing with their money. What about your wife? What about her? Are you going after her too? I thought about that. Rachel had betrayed me, lied to me, stolen from me. But she was also Ivy's mother. That depends on what she does next. Jennifer spent 2 hours going through the evidence. When she was finished, she looked up at me with something like awe. Mr. Rourke, this is going to destroy him. Good. Are you sure you want to do this? Once this story runs, there's no going back. I'm sure. The story ran in Monday's Business Journal with the headline, Local Gym Owner Accused of Investor Fraud. It was picked up by the regional paper on Tuesday and the state paper on Wednesday. By Thursday, Luke's gym was closed and his investors were calling for his head. But that wasn't the end of it. On Friday, I got a call from someone I didn't expect to hear from. Mindy Patterson, one of Rachel's best friends and biggest enablers. Simon, we need to talk. About what? About Rachel. About what's happening. What's happening is consequences. Simon, she's falling apart. She hasn't left the house in 3 days. She's not eating, not sleeping, not talking to anyone. And I think she's having some kind of breakdown. That stopped me. For all my anger, I didn't want Rachel to actually hurt herself. Where's Luke? Gone. He left town yesterday, packed up his car and disappeared. And Ivy? Ivy's scared. She doesn't understand what's happening. She keeps asking if you're going to send her mom to jail. Am I? Are you? I thought about it. That depends on Rachel. She wants to talk to you. She's ready to make things right. What does that mean? It means she's ready to give you what you want. What I want is my life back. Can she give me that? There was a long pause. No, but she can try to make up for what she took. That evening, I drove to the house I used to call home. Rachel's car was in the driveway, but Luke's motorcycle was gone. Good. I knocked on the front door. Ivy answered. Dad? She looked like she'd been crying for days. Hi, sweetheart. Mom's in the living room. She's not good, Dad. I found Rachel sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. She looked up when I came in, and I was shocked by what I saw. The confident, beautiful woman who'd been flaunting her affair just weeks ago was gone. In her place was someone who looked broken. Simon, she said quietly. Rachel, I'm sorry. For what? For all of it. For Luke. For the lying. For the money. For turning Ivy against you. For everything. I sat down across from her. Are you sorry because you got caught? Or because you hurt me? Both, she said, and started crying. I know that's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth. I'm sorry I got caught because my life is ruined, and I'm sorry I hurt you because you didn't deserve it. No, I didn't. I know. I know that now. What changed your mind? She laughed bitterly. Luke leaving. The moment things got difficult, he ran, left me to deal with everything alone. And I realized that you never would have done that. In 20 years of marriage, you never ran when things got tough. You never left me to face problems alone. Even when I was horrible to you, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but something. What do you want from me, Rachel? I want to make this right. As much as I can. How? She handed me a folder. I've been working with a lawyer. These are papers to transfer the house back to joint ownership, and papers to return all the money I took from our accounts. I looked through the documents. They looked legitimate. What about the business loan? I'll figure out how to pay it back. It's my debt, not yours. And Luke's investors? That's not my problem anymore. What about Ivy's college? Rachel's face crumpled. I don't know. The scholarship Luke arranged, it wasn't real. He lied about that too. I looked at my daughter who was hovering in the doorway. Ivy, come here. She came over and sat next to her mother. Dad, I'm sorry. I was wrong about everything. About you, about Mom, about Luke. I was stupid. You weren't stupid. You were 18 and caught in the middle of something you didn't understand. I said terrible things to you. Yes, you did. Can you forgive me? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. She was still just a kid, despite everything. A kid who'd been manipulated by adults who should have known better. I can forgive you, I said, but things can't go back to the way they were. I know. If we're going to have a relationship, it has to be honest. No more choosing sides, no more lies. I understand. I turned back to Rachel. What about us? I don't know, she said. I don't know if there is an us anymore. There isn't. Not the way there was before. So what happens now? Now we figure out how to be divorced parents who don't hate each other. Is that possible? I don't know. But it's better than what we've been doing. Rachel nodded. Simon, I need you to know something. What? Luke was wrong about you. You're not boring or limited or any of the things we said. You're steady. You're reliable. You're safe. That doesn't sound very exciting. It's not. But it's valuable. More valuable than I realized. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to find someone who appreciates those things. Someone who doesn't take them for granted the way I did. I felt tears starting in my eyes. Rachel, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm just asking you to believe that I know what I lost. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, I stood up. I'll have my lawyer look at these papers. If everything checks out, we can start over. Not as husband and wife, but as, I don't know, co-parents, former friends. I'd like that. And Ivy's college? I'll figure it out. I'll get a second job, take out loans, whatever it takes. No, I said. We'll figure it out. Together. Rachel looked surprised. Why would you help with that? Because she's my daughter. And despite everything that's happened, I still love her. Ivy started crying again. Dad, I don't deserve that. Maybe not. But you're getting it anyway. I headed toward the door, then stopped. Rachel, there's something else you should know. What? The safe combination. The one you've been trying to figure out? What about it? It's Ivy's birthday. It's always been Ivy's birthday. Rachel stared at me. Why are you telling me that? Because there's something in there you need to see. What? Ivy's real college fund, the one I started when she was born, the one you never knew about. I left them sitting in the living room and drove back to my motel. It wasn't a happy ending. It wasn't even a good ending. But it was an honest ending. And sometimes, that's all you can ask for. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching